Okay, we're live. Hey everyone, welcome to the Technology for Good Hangout. This is episode 86, if memory serves. We have a special guest co-host on the show today. The normal co-host, Chris Kernan, couldn't be here. And at the last minute, Ben Nader was good enough to step up to the post and offer to co-host. Ben, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks a lot for having me, Tom. I'm Ben Nader, co-founder and CEO of Butterfly, and Butterfly is the world's smartest camera. It's a camera that becomes basically your remote pair of eyes. You put at home or you put in your office, and when you're not there, you use it to check on things, whatever you care about, your children, your home, your pets. So an IoT, a smart home space. Please.
So Ben, just before we get into the stories and that, you need to tell me a little bit more about Butterfly. You said it's the world's smartest camera, but there's the world is full of cameras for the home and stuff like that. Why is yours smart?
Sure. Let me show you what it looks like. It looks like one of these devices like this, and it's about the size of my palm of my hand. And the reason it's called the world's smartest camera is because of the embedded technology, the embedded AI technology, the artificial intelligence, and specifically the machine learning section of it inside the camera. So the camera has the ability to learn what's going on in its surrounding and has the context awareness. And it can recognize human faces, it can recognize people, and it can recognize pets. And then it's a learning algorithm, and over time it learns more and more. So the idea with that, unlike many other security or surveillance cameras that just record whatever, it's just a passive 24/7, these cameras now have context awareness. They can act differently if they're placed in a baby's room versus they're placed in a garage versus they're placed in a kitchen. And they can recognize people in front of them. If you're the homeowner and you come home, maybe turns down and gives you privacy. If there's an unrecognized person, maybe immediately sends you a notification and records that person. And it can recognize certain objects, maybe doors and windows. You left the door open when you left your house. So it's like a smart eye, if you will. That's our vision. Getting it dumb cameras, putting AI and machine vision inside of them, and let them to be context aware that what's going on in front of them and behave differently. Okay. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. That sounds really neat, actually, Ben. Are they generally available, or what's the story? Are you in startup mode, or
yes,
where are you in that whole process?
Yes, we are a startup of 18 months old. We have done a pre-sale. They're available for pre-sales right now, and they're about 60 days away as of this recording to start shipping. So there are this prototype that's in my hand is from our manufacturing partner in Taiwan. They're ready to go. There's like the last few things of getting our regulatory FCC and CE things passed and start our ramp to production. So they're almost generally available. They're available for pre-sales today for a discount, and then they will be in the retailer stores by this summer.
And retailer stores, the likes of Amazon and Best Buy and things like that.
Yes. Amazon will be even starting like April, and then there's the Best Buys, and hopefully we'll be in Europe very soon as well.
Awesome, lovely. Okay, we'll hit into the stories because we have a truckload of them, and we have to stop at the top of the hour because Ben, you have to take off. So we'll start off. We've, as I say, we have a ton of stories. The first one that I thought was interesting was this one from the NSIDC, and let me just call it up on the screen here and share the screen. So what it is this story saying that, and I'll just make it a little larger on screen here as well, so I'm not the only one who can see it. January hits a new record low in the Arctic, and the low here is not referring to a low temperature, quite the opposite. It's referring to the fact that the amount of ice in the Arctic this year was at its lowest extent ever. And it's not easy really to make it out from this picture here, where the pink line is the average line and the white is way behind that. But there's another graph further down here which makes it very, very stark. And this is the average monthly Arctic sea ice extent from 1979 to 2016. And you can see the line, the blue line, is the average of that time, and it just keeps going down and to the right. If this was sales figures, the company would be in deep doo-doo. So
terrible.
This is not what you want to be seeing in Arctic sea ice extent, and unfortunately, that's where we are.
Yeah, yeah, very sad. This global warming is real and it's happening, and it's just, I was shocked when you showed me this graph. It's like, wow,
Yeah.
unbelievable. Yeah,
Anyway, that's the bad news.
that's the bad news.
Done and dusted, out of the way. There's a load of good news. And this week we have a ton of stories, both from the energy space and from the technology space. And the first one that I saw that I thought was interesting was this one. And it was about how renewable power is now becoming, I don't want to say dominant, but it is now the largest new source of energy in the US 2 years in a row. 2014 and 2015, it was the largest source of new power brought onto the grid. It's still low in terms of overall, it's still in single digit percentage figures, but the coal plants are being retired, and we'll look at that in a second. And the major source of new power coming on stream in the US now is wind and solar. So, and you can see in this chart here, the clean energy accounted for 68% of new capacity in 2015. So that's very significant, 68% in 2015. Moving on from, okay, this page hasn't loaded for some reason.
Yeah. You know, Tom, just living in California and seeing that I've noticed that there, as you drive in the highways away from Bay Area that I am, you see more and more wind turbines, and so definitely I know state of California is pushing for that. Obviously, the solar is doing amazing. Companies like Solar City, they're like very down the street from where our office is. They're growing so fast. So that's a great news.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean,
global warming news.
It is. I mean, and California is doing fantastic things there. They've legislated some great subsidies and not just for renewables, but also for storage. I think California has mandated 1,200 megawatts of storage to come online by 2020, which has done enormous things for the storage market as well, which is very important. Excuse me.
Right.
But we'll keep going, because there are these other stories as well that I thought were really interesting to talk to.
Please.
I referred to coal briefly, and there's two stories here. The U.S. electricity's use of coal fell to a historic low in 2015 as plants closed, and not only that, but this follow-up story from Bloomberg shows here that the amount of coal as a percentage in the makeup of electricity in the U.S. has fallen. And you can see that gas is overtaking it. So the orange line at the bottom here is gas, and you can see in June 2015 it kind of overtook gas, and the white line is coal, and you can see that it's dropping and going down nicely. Obviously, gas is still a fossil fuel, and it still causes emissions, but not nearly as much emissions as coal. The renewables are obviously the better way to go, but right now the US seems to be using gas as a kind of bridging mechanism to get to full renewables. So it's better than coal. It's still a problem, but at least we're seeing the emissions dropping, and that's important.
Right. Good news.
Yeah. So some other news that we talked about briefly before the call started, Ben, was this story about how GE are dropping CFL light bulbs, and they're going directly from CFL. They're dropping them all and going directly to LEDs. Now this, excuse me, this is important for a number of reasons. First of all, the LED bulbs are more efficient than the CFL bulbs, both in terms of the amount of electricity they use, but also in terms of their lifespan. Your CFL bulb lasts, what, 2-3 years, whereas your LED lasts 20 years, that kind of ballpark?
Right. Less than 2 years for the light bulbs I buy here.
Yeah.
Maybe 1 year.
Yeah, it depends obviously on usage and quality of electricity as well. But yeah, no, and the CFLs, a lot of them contain mercury as well. They take longer to light up, and they what was it? Oh, the you can't use them with dimmers very often, whereas the LEDs. Not all LEDs are usable with dimmers, but quite a lot of them are. They light up pretty instantly. The quality of light is good, and they use less electricity, and they last a lot longer. So, you know, given that, why anyone would choose LEDs over CFL, apart from the initial cost, is beyond me.
Right, right, yeah. Maybe we need to do a better job of consumer awareness and advertising this. You know, maybe that's companies like because exactly what you said. Maybe not your average family doesn't know about all these the advantage of the LEDs. I mean, maybe we need to do a better job of advertising this. So they're so much more efficient, so much more, and they're almost the same cost. I mean, maybe you just look at the store cost is not the same, but because the lifetime you get so much more value out of it, it's actually cheaper.
Yeah, it is over the lifetime. It's way cheaper. It is.
Yes.
You're right. There's a job of education to be done there. Very definitely.
Yes. So, and Asian companies have been doing LEDs have been pushing this. Like, I know Samsung has been pushing for LED lights. Philips, obviously, Osram. So it's great to see GE is doing it too now. Finally.
Yeah. No, it is. It is not before time, as you say.
Right.
Sticking with renewables for a minute, because oops, I just closed that window again. Sorry, my bad. We see this news coming out of Europe. Germany has now started to take the lead in offshore wind energy growth. So Germany rolled out a massive 3,000 megawatts of offshore wind.
Wow.
So. Sorry, no, that was the total for Europe. But Britain connected 556, and Germany added. That's it. Germany added 2,282. So it was a huge year for wind power in Europe, and of the wind power that was installed, you can see Germany here in yellow added almost 30% of the total. So
yeah. So who's number one in Europe right now? This is installed this last year, but
it is. So number one is the UK. It is, yeah. Okay. It is. Germany's catching up fast. But if we see here, the world's largest offshore wind farm is now about to be built off the Yorkshire coast. Yeah, it's huge. It's a 1.2 gigawatt offshore wind farm. And the size, it is Dong Energy, which is a Danish company, is doing it. And the size of the wind turbines in this, there's 7 megawatt wind turbines, and each of the wind turbines are actually taller than the famous Shard building in London, if you're familiar with that.
Yes.
So wow. They're huge. They're 190 meters tall.
Wow.
So,
do you know how far from the coast they put these things on? Can you see them from the coast?
I don't know that, but probably not. They generally put them offshore pretty far, 5-10 miles offshore at least. Wow. So yeah, so I don't know, or if you see them, you see very little. They'd be far enough offshore that you wouldn't see too much.
I'm sure they don't want people around them.
Yeah, exactly. Closer to me here in Spain is this story about Morocco switching on the first phase of the world's largest. And the headline is a bit misleading, because it's not the largest solar plant in the world. What it is it's the largest concentrating solar plant in the world. The first phase was turned on yesterday by the King of Morocco, and it's for 160 megawatts, if I remember correctly. There it is. It's 160 megawatts, and that is of a total 580 megawatts when the entire site is brought online. This is just phase one. The 160 megawatts is phase one. When they finish it, it'll be 580. So it's concentrating solar. So what you have is these mirrors, which are kind of concave, and they concentrate the light into a kind of a bar in the middle, which is filled with an oil or a molten salt or something like that, which is then heated up by those mirrors, and they use that to generate steam to run turbines. So they've got built-in storage just by dirt of the fact that they're storing the energy and heat using these molten salts, and that means that it can generate power long after the sun goes down. So for several hours after the sun goes down, the heat from these is still continuing to generate power.
That's awesome. Yes.
And Morocco is hoping to become a powerhouse for renewable energy in Africa, and eventually hopes to export power to Southern Europe from Morocco. So
really?
yeah, they've got great ambitions, and good luck to them. I hope they make it come true, because we're 20, 30 miles from them here in the south of Spain. And it would be easy to drop a subsea cable to take the power from there. And the former government here in Spain, the outgoing government here in Spain, were anti-renewable. So it would be great if we can't get it built locally because of bad government policies. Maybe we could import it.
Yeah. Cool. I assume Morocco has plenty of sunny days.
Yes, absolutely.
So perfect. Glad to hear. I had no idea they're pushing the solar technology there. So that's great.
Yeah. We should be doing it here in Spain as well. It's absolutely crazy that it's not happening here, but it's one of these things where the government is in the pockets of the fossil fuel industries, unfortunately, and they don't want. You know what it's like in the US. It's not dissimilar. So
yep, exactly.
It's a battle. It's an ongoing thing.
Sure, absolutely.
The storage industry as well, excuse me, is coming on in leaps and bounds. And there's a great story in the Guardian this week about that. And this is a long, detailed piece, so I'm not going to go into much detail on it. But basically, it's just it talks about different types of storage, like pumped hydro, which is a useful type of storage. But it's difficult because it's got a huge capital cost, and you need two lakes separated by about 400 meters, which doesn't happen very often. You've got this newer technology called compressed air, where you compress air, you pump it underground into kind of caverns, underground limestone caverns or something like that, and then you let it out when you've a lack of electricity, and you run it through turbines to generate electricity. And that's good, but again, you need those underground kind of limestone caverns to do that. Excuse me. What's really winning the war for storage is the likes of lithium-ion batteries, and the technology for that is getting better and better and better all the time. And you can see here the length of this article. It's quite a long article, and it goes into a lot of detail about it. And it talks not just about residential storage, but also in industrial storage. So using those lithium-ion batteries to take the storage from solar farms or from wind farms for utility companies, as well as for the likes of you and I having one in our garage to take energy from our solar panels if we have them, or maybe use our car to store it and then run the house from the car if there's an outage, or go off.
I love that. I love that concept. And Tesla is pushing on there. In our own little way, when we built butterfly cameras, we looked at our camera. It has batteries inside of it, and we looked at the different battery technology. Lithium ion. Actually, I would say there's not enough push forward is being done on the batteries. There is some being done. There could be a lot more. Lithium ion has been, but it's been improving. Lithium ion has been doing good. Lithium polymer has been doing some stuff as well. And companies like Tesla, companies like Apple, companies like BYD in China are pushing that technology, which is great.
Great. And BYD are an interesting company, and I've forgotten what BYD stands for now, but they
build your dream.
That's it. Build your dream. That was it.
Build your dream.
That's mad. It's a great name. They're producing an enormous amount of cars and buses which are fully electric. And the London bus fleet, for example, is starting to buy buses, single-decker and double-decker buses from BYD. They're rolling out a fleet of a couple of hundred of them. And the buses are rated to be able to go for the full day without a charge. And then to be charged overnight, to take 4 hours to charge overnight, and then be ready to go a full day again the next day, and be zero emission. And London badly needs that, because the quality of the air in London is appalling, absolutely appalling. So
Yes, yes. Have you heard about, speaking of BYD, have you heard of a company called LETV?
no, I haven't.
That's the new, I think that's like the new, have you heard of Xiaomi? It's a big Chinese
Yes, yeah.
that's been very successful, Apple-like, but there's sort of, it's like a big China story, that's a big successful company in the tech, a startup. The next one is LETVs. At least that's what the rumor is. And what they are doing is they're going after Tesla, and they want to build electric car, and they're getting batteries from BYD, and they have some sort of a close partnership and close collaboration. And they are doing buses and cars that are Tesla-like. I think you will hear from them in the next few years. I was just in China a few weeks ago before the Chinese New Year, and they are pushing for this. I had chance to meet some of their people because of through some contacts, and they're very well also backed by the China government. So
Okay.
so they have the funding, and they are going to come in after the battery technology and this renewable energy from the battery point of view, and cars and public transportation. So
Fantastic.
yeah.
I'm loving it. The more of that we see, the better, obviously, for everyone.
I think it's good for consumer. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. So we're getting out of the energy space now and going a little bit into the kind of the sustainability space, because so one of the bad boys in sustainability for the longest time has been Amazon. While most of the other companies in the tech space have been really, really good, or have been shamed into becoming really, really good about their emissions and their energy, Amazon have pursued a policy of radical opaqueness, where they are not telling anybody anything. They don't publish any figures around their energy consumption or their emissions or anything, nothing at all. They have no sustainability initiatives to speak of, nothing.
Wow.
But apparently, apparently that's beginning to change. So they're after hiring several new people in sustainability roles. One of them, a guy called Dara O'Rourke, who's a leading expert on global supply chains, has joined the company's team. And not just that, but a woman called Cara Hurst, the company's director for worldwide sustainability and social responsibility, is the former CEO of the Sustainability Consortium and became Amazon's first sustainability leader in 2014. And Christine Bader, author of The Evolution of the Corporate Idealist, joined Amazon last August. And in December, the company hired Christina Page, who led energy and sustainability strategy and Yahoo for 8 years. So they seem to be putting together a kind of a dream team, as they say in the article here. The big question, I guess, is, will it actually change anything at Amazon?
And what are they trying to change? The way the supply chain, the way the inventory push is working?
There's a couple of things. So the two biggest issues I would see with Amazon would be how they treat their staff, because the staff, particularly the warehouse staff, generally are not treated well at all. And every Christmas you see reports about kind of the conditions in the Amazon warehouses, and they're supposed to be pretty grim.
Really? Oh, okay.
Now, one way around that, of course, is to fire all the staff and get it all run by robots. And we're seeing some movements in that direction. So that may be one way they'll deal with it. And the other issue that's a big issue with Amazon is as I say, the energy and emissions from their data centers, which they refuse to publish. So most of the other big cloud companies, they publish their emissions to the Carbon Disclosure Project, and they talk about how much energy they're using. Amazon has never done that and refuses to do that, or so far has refused to do that. If I start to see Amazon reporting their energy and emissions to the Carbon Disclosure Project, then I'll start to think that maybe this dream team is starting to have some effect. But until that happens, I'll remain skeptical.
Skeptical. Okay. All right.
I mean, we talked before the show started, Ben, about corporate culture and inertia in large organizations, and these guys will have a tough time. There's a lot of inertia there, and getting organizational change is never easy.
Absolutely, absolutely. Two stories for that I have for you. So first, the doing robots inside this warehouses is definitely happening, because I've interviewed people from those teams. They have teams here in Silicon Valley that's trying to automate it. I remember interviewing one of them, and he said something about your average warehouse worker has to walk, when they count their steps, has to walk somewhere between 10 to 12 miles a day.
Wow.
That was really, really long. I was, wow, how is that possible? So maybe I think that maybe that's how they're overworked and everything. And so part of these robots is to reduce that. And then the other part, I think what they have talked about, I don't know how real this is and how much they're pushing internally, but this idea of drones delivering the product for you instead of using FedEx and or now they have their own even method of delivering packages. But the drone idea, I think, is absolutely brilliant, and they should do that. And this idea of, I don't know how you feel about drones. It's definitely happening, and these packages are small size. They should be a simple way of, and on top of the buildings, there should be places that you will have packages drop in. And the drones just go in there. It doesn't come below a certain level. It never hits the power line. It just goes and drops it off. Especially metropolitan places like New York, San Francisco. I think it will save so much.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it cutting down on traffic, which is a good thing. The complication, I guess, for a company like Amazon doing something like this is for people who live in apartments and apartment complexes. It would be more difficult to deliver to an apartment than to a house, for example. A house is pretty straightforward to deliver to with a drone. But you know, if someone's living on the 14th floor of a 24-floor apartment complex, you know, how do you deliver to them?
Well, what, don't you think there will be? I think there will be a place on the roof that this is a package drop-off spot, and it's marked correctly, and the drones know it, and they can navigate to it, and it will just come in and land, and packages there.
Yeah, maybe.
The roof of the thing, and then you got usually these sort of tall buildings. They have usually they have a mailman or some package. Maybe they have attendants. He will go and pick it up from there. Or you just leave it there and you get some text message or something on your phone when the package was dropped that your package has been dropped on the roof.
Yeah.
It could be possible.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess we'll see. And as I say, something like that, if it reduces the amount of delivery trucks on the road, you know.
That's right.
Reducing
the traffic. And exactly. There's some data around. There's a ridiculous number of trucks that are driving around dropping off Amazon packages. And most of these packages are so small or under certain size that drone can carry them. Anyway, just one story. I'm excited about drones.
Good. I mean, they have a power to change a lot of things. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing some of the things that they're going to do. It's going to be interesting.
Great.
Skipping forward a couple of stories. I saw this one. I don't know what the penetration of WhatsApp is like in the US, but it's very strong here in Europe.
Really? Okay.
And so they've announced, and WhatsApp was bought by Facebook, I think, a year and a half ago at this point.
That's right. 19 billion, 17 billion, something.
Yeah, something ridiculous. And they, at the time, they probably had 900 million or 850 million users. They're now, after passing the 1 billion monthly active users. So it's not just 1 billion users, it's 1 billion monthly active users. So that's pretty impressive. I use it regularly.
Really? How do you use it?
So do most people in Europe that I know of. So I use it on my phone. It's an SMS client app, a bit like iMessage on the iPhone. The problem with iMessage is it's Apple to Apple only.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas WhatsApp will go Apple to Android, Android to Android, Android to Apple. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. So it has a lot of the same functionality as iMessage. It has more functionality than iMessage, in fact. It has a web interface as well. So I have on my screen here, I have a WhatsApp client window open in my browser. So, and I get a little notification on screen if someone sends me a message. You have group chats. One of the local businessmen near me here owns a fish shop.
Okay.
And he's been doing this for a long time. He's been doing it for about 2 years now. He set up a WhatsApp group for the regular customers of his fish shop. And every morning, when the new batch of fish comes in, he sends a message to the group of his customers saying, okay, today we're after getting this in. The first 10 people who come back to me saying they want this, this, or this, I'll put it aside for them. And boom, you know, it's a great way to get value for the customers and to get guaranteed sales for him.
Yeah, what a great small business owner using the tool like that is really interesting.
It's
great.
Clever. It's clever.
Great. Yeah. So for me, I have WhatsApp. I don't use it as often. It just depends on different group of friends. In the US, most popular is iMessage. Maybe because Silicon Valley, so many people have Apple. But I use Viber more than I use WhatsApp.
Okay.
And for a long time, I think, and maybe it's because I found it with the regions have different things. I have, as you know, my background is Iranian, and I have some family and relatives back in Iran. For some reason, Viber took off there more than WhatsApp, and we use that to communicate with them. And for a long time, you could make phone calls, free phone calls with Viber to Viber, and you couldn't do that with WhatsApp. I don't know if that has changed.
That has changed. You can now do WhatsApp calls as well. Yeah.
Calls as well. Okay. And then in Asia, when I go there, in China, everybody uses WeChat. And in Taiwan and Korea, I use another system called Line. I don't know if you've heard about those. Those are so popular in Asia. And then it's interesting how they come in and take over one region and they just go viral. But I have WhatsApp. Every once in a while, some friends use it. But that's a great way that Facebook and WhatsApp, they got to find a way to monetize that. I'm sure there are many other small business owners that use this little small group chat feature to make to promote their business and make money. So I'm sure Facebook and WhatsApp would want to have a part of that.
And another thing they do here is the radio stations here. If they want to interact with listeners, they'll say, "Here's our WhatsApp number. Send us in a request or send us in whatever," and they use it that way.
Really?
So, yeah.
Okay.
So.
Very cool. Very cool.
It's mad, and it's not just WhatsApp, which has gone over the 1 billion users. Gmail has now announced that they've gone over 1 billion active users as well. So there's a lot of people hitting big numbers.
Yeah. Although Gmail has been around so much longer than WhatsApp.
It has. I got my first Gmail account in, I want to say, 2004. So I was lucky. I was very early. At that time, it was invite only, and I happened to know someone. I saw someone online saying he'd just gotten a Gmail account. So I said, quick, send me an invite. So I got in early, and then shared the invites I had with a couple of people I knew as well. So.
Pass it forward.
Exactly.
Pay it forward.
That's it.
Very good. Very good.
Google are also doing stuff around. You mentioned drones earlier, so this is kind of drone technology. What they're doing is they have these 5G internet drones that they're testing out in a spaceport America in New Mexico. And what they are is there are these drones which basically use lasers to fire 5G internet connections. So 5G, the next generation beyond the 4G that's in your handset right now. So 5G internet speeds down to the ground. And it's very much early days with what they're doing at the moment.
Yeah.
But of course, they have to be ahead of the curve and be testing this stuff so that, when 5G does become popular, they'll have the ability to just roll it out wherever it's needed.
Is this, I didn't know much about this one. Is this replacing the balloon thing? Sometimes they had this balloon that goes in the close to space and then.
That's right.
Is this like replacing that? Better than that?
I don't know if it's replacing it. I know that's called Project Loon, and the idea of Project Loon is that the balloons will stay up there for hundreds of days at a time, and be pretty much stationary and be beaming stuff down. I think the idea with the drones is more that they can go to somewhere where it's needed if there's something happens or something like that, and connectivity goes down, that they can go straight there and fire connectivity straight down.
Okay, cool. Very cool. Yeah.
That's my understanding. And Google as well have now, they've been doing this self-driving car thing around Nevada and around California. Well, they've now expanded it to not just California and Nevada, but they've expanded it now to Washington State as well. And it was interesting reading that, because what they say about doing it in Washington State, is that there are obviously very different driving conditions in Washington State. There's a couple of things, like the sun is lower in the sky, you get reflections off the wet road, you get more rain, so you get more hills as well. So it's now, going to Washington State to test out the very different driving environment that they have there, as opposed to kind of Nevada and California, which would be drier and flatter.
Right. That's awesome. The technology they use, there's a lot of image recognition and image analysis and machine learning going on there, is incredibly similar to what we're doing in the AI space. It is AI space. It's just applied for automotive, and real-time analytics means you have to do analytics in the car and recognize the lanes, they read the signs, they recognize pedestrian walking in front of you. Is awesome. What is it Google not doing? They got their hands in everything. But it's good for us. They have deep pockets, and I love technology, and the future is all about making our lives better, and these self-driving cars is absolutely going to make our life better.
Yeah, I mean, what it's going to do to the insurance industry and the car parking industry, and I mean that's not something that you think of straight away, but the amount of car parking spaces in cities is enormous, and if you reduce the amount of cars on the road by, even if it's only by 30 to 40%, by having autonomous cars, then that's a lot of parking spaces that are suddenly freed up, which could be used for other things, like putting a park in the middle of the city instead of a car park, an actual park with trees and birds and stuff.
Sure, that sounds a great idea.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll keep going, because we have to stop at the top of the hour.
Yes.
And I saw this story out of Visa. Interestingly, Visa have launched their Visa developer platform. They've opened it up, and they're encouraging developers to come in. And I can see this being very much a shot across the bows of people like Square or Stripe, even. It's to allow people to use Visa as the back end of payments systems, which has not traditionally been easy to do, hence the success of Stripe up to now.
That's right. They're exactly coming after Stripe lunch.
Yeah, exactly. So and Stripe was started by two young Irish guys. So the Collison brothers. It's now Visa, of course. I mean, we talked about deep pockets a second ago. Visa's got some extremely deep pockets, and if they can get the developer ecosystem on board, then we can start to see, it'd be far easier to roll out Visa payment systems globally.
Although it's probably an example of what we talked about. Big corporation, slow to move, make an announcement, but who knows?
Yeah. True enough. We'll see.
They have the potential, definitely. They have the money. They have the right tools. They have all the customers. They have all the brands. Everybody knows what Visa is.
Yeah. As long as they don't try and push people through the verified by Visa system, which is so broken.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, Microsoft. So Microsoft. I mean, we've been hinting and talking around AI, and you've mentioned the AI in your own product. Microsoft have open sourced its AI to, as the title here says, to one up Google. But whatever about one upping Google, that they have this framework which they use with Cortana and Skype Translate. It's a speech recognition framework called CNTK, and it's based on a branch of artificial intelligence called deep learning, which helps machines recognize things that they wouldn't normally recognize, like in this case, speech and language. So they've Google open sourced its TensorFlow last year, which is a really good app. But so now Microsoft have decided to go a step beyond that, and they've released their CNTK, and they've put the code on GitHub with allowing commercial use as well as non-commercial use. The reason that the article says they're one-upping Google is when Google put TensorFlow up, they did it for non-commercial use only, whereas Microsoft are letting anyone use CNTK for whatever they want. The whole AI wars that are going on at the moment between the Microsofts and the Googles and the Facebooks and everyone who are, open sourcing all their AI stuff is really a hiring exercise, because it's all about recruitment. Because when they open source this stuff, they put it up on GitHub, and they allow people to play with it, and then they can see who's making the most or the best commits. And of course, when they see who are doing that, they can just reach out to them and say, well, we see you've been playing around with this stuff and you're doing some interesting stuff. Would you like to come in and have a chat with us? And of course, the whole AI space is under-resourced at the moment. It's a space that's taken off quite quickly and far faster than the universities can turn out graduates in the space. So there's a real dearth of qualified people in the space. So, there's huge competition to get them in and on board.
Right. Funny, all this stuff that's going on around this voice recognition part of AI, and Google, like you said, that project been out and public for a while. But what I love about the two other companies that are doing great work is they're packaging it in some cool consumer application. And the two are Amazon with that Echo. I don't know if you've ever used that. With the Alexa, it's awesome voice recognition engine in the back, and they're doing cool stuff. And the one that hasn't announced it, but I know for a fact, I don't have insider info, but it's very obvious the next one is going to be Apple. There's going to be some way to talk to your smart home, and it's just a natural extension of this whole Siri. Not that I have any insider knowledge, but this is pretty obvious. So this Google and what Microsoft is doing is awesome. They're probably technology-wise they're ahead, but why can't they package it in this beautiful consumer experience and put it in front of consumer? Maybe that's not their interest. Maybe their interest is to just get the developers and find them on GitHub, and let's just build they become the engine in the back, right?
Yeah. They have Cortana, so maybe they'll do something with the Cortana AI and try and get into the home that way. They're looking at rolling out interfaces for the home like HoloLens. They have Xboxes in a lot of homes already. So they have a couple of ways into the home. So this is I've no doubt this kind of thing is on their
radar.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. Do you ever use Amazon Echo?
Sorry. I haven't. It's not available outside the US.
Oh.
I've seen it. So a friend of mine who's a developer had one at an event I was at, and he had it programmed. He programmed it himself to do some cool stuff. So I've seen it in action. I have, but I've never used one myself. As I say, they're not available outside the US.
Okay, we got to get you one. Just ship it over there with the right power adapter or something. Yeah, this is absolutely awesome. I love using it.
Yeah, no, it seems quite interesting. All right, I was impressed when I saw it, and I'm sure they'll release it here soon enough, and it'll do quite well because it is an impressive little device. It is.
All right.
So we were speaking of Microsoft though, and they had another announcement during the week, which I thought was interesting, and interesting not just because of the announcement itself, but because of the space it's in. It's the IoT space, and this is your home turf here, Ben. But the reason I bring this up is not just because it's a big announcement. It's not just the fact that they've launched this Azure IoT hub. So basically, that's the announcement. They've launched an IoT hub. So basically, it's a place on Azure where you can suck in a load of information from IoT devices all around the place. You can have hundreds or thousands of IoT devices sending back hundreds or thousands of data points per second, and you can pull them into Azure and manipulate them there however you want, using the native Azure services that are already there.
Yep, I know all about it. Azure is pushing hard to get into the IoT.
Exactly. But what was interesting, not just this announcement, what's interesting is when it has happened, because this week, it's not just that Microsoft announced that they are launching their IoT hub, but also Cisco announced the purchase of Jasper to do pretty much exactly the same thing, but for Cisco and Cisco devices. So the idea, I mean, Jasper is an IoT cloud platform. So a similar idea. And IBM also announced, and this is the way to put it on GreenMonk, IBM announced that they had acquired weather.com, not for the weather data, although I'm sure they'll use that as well, but for the platform behind weather.com, because the platform behind weather.com was taking in something like 26 billion data points from, it was answering 26 billion queries from 2 billion sensors, if I remember correctly, per day. So it was one that had proven that it could scale quite well. I have the numbers here. It takes in 100 gigabytes of data per day from 2.2 billion forecast locations, and it then produces 300 gigabytes of product for customers. So that's what they bought. They bought the technology that can do that, and IBM are going to roll that out as Watson IoT. So they're going to put their artificial intelligence Watson on top of it. And so they'll be able to take in enormous quantities of information and run it through Watson for the analytics and the intelligence. And so basically, the three stories there are kind of, they're linked, because they're these big companies, the Microsofts, the Ciscos, the IBMs. They've all seen that this IoT space is exploding, and they know that they need to be the one behind it. They can't.
They want to be the one.
They want to be. They're going for the land grab. So they're buying the weather.coms or the Jaspers, or they're building their own Azure hub to make sure that they have the infrastructure there to take in gigabytes and gigabytes, hundreds of gigabytes of data from billions of sensors, and be able to play with it and put out meaningful information as a result.
That's right. Yeah. Everybody wants to be the hub, the back end of the IoT. So I think the Jasper one is more focused, from my understanding, and Cisco. It's IoT enterprise, and they're focused on enterprise. And I hope Cisco didn't buy it to switch it to consumer, because Cisco is just not a consumer company. No. They've tried many, many times to do consumer product, from routers to cameras, and every time it's failed. So they're a big enterprise company. But Microsoft and IBM would definitely want to be the consumer behind the consumer IoT. So it's great for a startup like us, actually. We get approached by Microsoft and other backend. The problem for them, the challenge for them, and I tell them when they meet us too, most of the startups that like us that are doing something in IoT smart home, for our backend we use Amazon, AWS. Why? Because it's most friendliest with the startups. So of course, as a startup, we are always resource constrained, and these guys have these backends and these massive things built. We would love to use them, but they have to be startup friendly. And if the interest of Microsoft is to build that and then go partner with Dell or Apple or somebody big, then it's a completely different than working. Amazon so far, AWS, that backend has been most friendliest for startups. That's why ours is behind AWS. Ours is built on AWS. Many of our other products that are in our market, many part of Nest is built on AWS.
Wow.
And being part of Google company. I'm sure they're transitioning into Google, but yeah, so there are AWS, but there's definitely opportunity there, and we startups need the help. So if these guys come in and be startup friendly, I think it could blow up.
And have you guys tried Bluemix at all?
We have not. No, not that one either. No.
So Bluemix is the IBM developer play. For For the IBM developers, they've got this platform called Bluemix, which is supposed to be a good cloud-delivered development platform for the IBM IoT backend.
Okay. Okay.
And supposed to be reasonably language agnostic as well. So I have
Okay.
never used it, but
Sure.
I've heard good things. But
Okay. Cool. I should look them out. But once you build your foundation in one of these, and it's because it's so big, you build your foundation in one.
Yeah.
It's so hard for a startup to move out of it, right? It's not a quick let's test it on that.
No,
Yeah.
totally understand.
Yeah, so they have to get in. I told them Microsoft, you have to get in at the very, very early days, and you have to show, okay, this is, but like almost the default choice is to go to AWS right now for startups.
Yeah.
But you want to change that so you.
Did we lose you? Oh, you're back. Thought we lost you there for a second.
Okay, I'm here. I didn't do anything. I didn't move.
Okay, good. So I'm trying to do a screen share here, and it doesn't seem to be working though.
Yeah, let's continue with the stories.
Yeah, I wish I could. Some reason I'm not able to do a screen share. Damn. That's okay. Come on, you can do it. No, it's refusing to screen share. That's so weird. There's been a glitch. Damn. Okay, well, the next story I was going to talk about was how Microsoft are acquiring SwiftKey. So SwiftKey are a London-based company. They're a startup. Well, they're not a startup at this point, I guess. They've been around for a number of years. And what they did was they developed a keyboard for mobile devices, Android initially and later iOS as well. And the keyboard is one where you can just swipe around the keyboard and it guesses the word you're doing just from the letters you're swiping to and from. Yeah. Very, very clever keyboard. Very popular in Android before it came to iOS. And it was using a lot of AI to do that, artificial intelligence to do that. In fact, they built a keyboard for Stephen Hawking as well. So good was their technology, he loved it. And now Microsoft are after buying them for $250 million, for $250 million. And they didn't do it to buy a keyboard.
I'm sure.
It harks back to the conversation we had earlier about AI and talent, the search for artificial intelligence and the talent in that pool there. The reason why they open sourced their AI technology as well. This was an acqui-hire, as they call it. So they acquired them to buy in the AI talent that they need so much.
Wow. Yeah.
And $250 million, that was a serious acqui-hire.
That's right. Usually acqui-hires are very small.
Yeah.
Expensive acqui-hire. Nothing for Microsoft. I'm sure they can afford it.
They can. I can't share the screen anymore. This is really annoying.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know what the story is. Damn it. All right. I think I'm gonna cut the show short, because if I can't show the stories, there's no point. There was a nice one I saw about depth sensing cameras. So they're talking about, this might be something you could talk to as well, Ben, given your camera knowledge. But they're talking about phones launching this year with depth sensing cameras in them. And the idea, I suppose, is you'd have maybe a second camera. So you'd have two cameras slightly separated, and that way you get kind of stereoscopic images, and you'd be able to sense depth, I guess, is how it works.
Yes.
And I mean, there's lots of different possible use cases put forward. Gaming is a big one, obviously. AR is another one. But for me, I think, and this isn't something that was posited in the article, but for me, for people who are visually challenged, I could see this being huge. If the phone could be held out in front of them and it could understand the depth of what's around the environment for the visually challenged person and speak it to them, it could literally be their eyes. And it could tell them, in 3 steps, you have a an obstacle. It's a ladder. You know, once you start building image recognition into it as well, suddenly the phone can become literally the visually challenged person's eyes.
Yes, makes sense. Yeah, it's huge. There are a couple of different ways to do it. One of them is to put 2 cameras in there, and yeah, finding depth it helps with AI. It helps with the context awareness of this camera. So yeah, it can become people's eyes. It can become you can recognize a lot more. You can recognize somebody at what distance they are from you, and what's the different objects are in front of you. Where are you? What are you doing? Is the car coming towards you, moving away from you? So many different applications. Yeah, it's really, really cool.
Yeah,
we're very interested in that technology.
The last story, and we'll cut it then. The last story is how President Obama has pledged $4 billion to computer science in American schools, and I think that's phenomenal. Under his plan, the Department of Education will provide $4 billion over 3 years to states that propose well-designed 5-year plans to increase computer science access in classrooms. Along with billions in federal funding, the initiative also includes commitments from philanthropists and some of the country's largest tech companies to help increase opportunities for computer science training, especially in underrepresented groups. So really, really fantastic stuff there. Needed because there's a dearth of computer qualified people, not just in the US, but globally. But also I like that it's heading towards underrepresented groups as well.
Right, absolutely. This is a fantastic, and this is for K-12, right? So for elementary school through high school.
I think so. Yeah.
That is great. I know the founder of Code.org, Hadi Partovi, and he's doing an amazing job in that area as well. So it's and definitely American schools do need the help and need the money, and their budget has been cut year after year. So definitely, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to cut the show short today because I can't share the screen.
All right.
Something broke in the Hangout.
No way.
It's even broken to the extent that when you're talking now, you're not coming on screen.
Really? Oh, okay.
And normally it swaps when it recognizes someone else is talking. So it's a glitch. It doesn't happen very often, but I'm sorry.
Oh no.
Anyway, we got through most of the stories, and Ben, thanks a million for stepping in and helping out when I was shy a co-host.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me, and I learned a lot.
Good, awesome. Good.
All right.
Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll be back same time next week, hopefully with a fully functional Hangout, and we shall see you all then.
Okay, thanks a lot, Tom. Bye-bye.